What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. With me today is my main man, Coach Jibbs. What's going on, Coach Jibbs? Oh, man, you're on mute, my friend.
Coming out of the outro all messed up. Ain't much, man. Just Mondays, grinding, Great laughter for today, and yeah, I'm doing good.
Good, man. Good to hear, brother. Good to hear, brother. Coach John is not going to be with us today. He might show up later. We don't know yet. He had some work issues. He couldn't make it today. But we do have our guest on today's show, Mr. Justin, my friend. How are you been, buddy?
What's up, bud? It's always a pleasure to come on with the coaches, man. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Exactly. Is the Chargers going to franchise tag Mike Williams?
It sounds like it, but I don't know. 19 million is kind of too much for me.
Oh, damn. Mike Williams getting the bag this year. Jesus.
He probably will, and we'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. So as you guys know, tomorrow is the deadline for the franchise tag. And then I think it's March 14th to the 16th. There's that tampering period. And I think March 16th is when teams can start signing their free agents, whatnot, put out bids and stuff, all the fun stuff that we're going to all love over the next month of the season. So, so we're going to get right into it today, guys. Obviously, this isn't a free agent show or anything like that. Obviously, if you've been following us, we were doing our Dynasty Rewind, not on the NFC East, though, because we did that last week. So that's my bad, guys. We are on episode 194, Dynasty Rewind, NFC North today, guys. Talking about the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, and the Lions today. So we'll get right into the news to start our show. Of course, got to bring up the slides today. So news-wise, the Giants have cut both Kyle Rudolph and Devontae Booker. Definitely some, just I think normal veteran move cuts to the new organization. Kansas City has tagged Orlando Brown. I believe Cincinnati Bengals have also tagged Jesse Bates, safety. Dallas is rumored to cut Amari Cooper and re-sign Michael Gallup. I'm not going to go too nuts into that until we actually see it happens, but it was a high possibility. And the Browns, they tagged David Njoku. What do you guys think about this? Why bring back David Njoku? How do you guys feel about this, Justin? I'll let you kind of go first.
It makes complete sense to me only because the tight end tag is pennies when you're thinking about your overall roster salary cap. So to have a guy that's got some athleticism, I think the tag for tight ends is 10 million, and you can get it off the books in a year. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I did not know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The tight end tag is not that heavy compared to some other positions in the NFL. But Jibbs, does this basically just rule out any Browns tight end moving forward?
Tight end one. Oh yeah, I believe so. I don't think no one's gonna emerge out of the trio of them. So I guess there's gonna be some good weeks, some bad weeks for him, and we're just never gonna know. But maybe Njoku could get free next year, and we could finally see him blossom to the legit fantasy star he could be.
Unless they tag him for a second straight season, that would be fun, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
You never know what the Browns do there, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you could make the best point is that no one's really going to have consistent fantasy production as a tight end, but you're going to get, something out of them on a depending on the week basis. That's basically really what it comes down to. So, and then the big news they dropped about 3 hours ago now at this point, Calvin Ridley, guys, suspended for the 2022 season. Basically, if you haven't heard, which you'd be living on a rock at this point if you haven't heard, basically after he basically left the team, he did a little gambling on the FanDuel, the DraftKings sites, and that's a big no-no apparently for NFL players nowadays that is going to cost him for the entire season. Now, there is a appeal process that could happen if he wants to over the next couple of days. But the way he's talking, though, it seems like he's just going to take his fault and kind of move on. But we'll see. But Coach Jibbs, how does this factor Calvin Ridley's fantasy value moving forward?
Oh, it's definitely dropped. I think people are trying to just get you to offer him up just because you won't have him, especially if you're playing in deeper leagues where he's probably your premier option on your team that you've been kind of relying on. I know, like, not last year, but we see the numbers that he could provide. So for me, like, I have him on 2 dynasty teams, and he's going to be sitting on the bottom of that roster week in, week out. I don't care who's injured, who's not. He's not leaving my team. I'm not giving you him for nothing. I want to still get like my due price for him. So hold for me in dynasty.
Hold for you. I like that. Honestly, I think that is a smart move. What about you, Justin? How do you feel about the situation, and is Ridley a hold for you right now in dynasty?
I mean, first on the situation, I think a year suspension for what he's been accused of doing is kind of ridiculous. In dynasty, I'm probably going to put him out there and see what I get in trade offers. I'm not giving him away by any means, but he was kind of old coming into the league. He'll be, this would be his 27, 28-year-old season, so he'll be coming back in 28, 29. I mean, to lose a year out in the middle of your prime kind of stinks, and to not know where he's going to be or where the Atlanta Falcons may even be at that time when he comes back. It's just, if somebody gives you a really good haul, might as well just take it while you can.
What would you take if someone offered you a mid-second? Would you just take that for Calvin Ridley?
I guess it depends on where my team is. Okay. Like if I'm trying to build my team and I've got Calvin Ridley because he's young, but now I've lost him for a whole year. I'm probably not 1 second going to get it done, but if I could package some stuff together and move and get some capital, I probably would if I'm building the team. If I'm kind of built now, I don't know that I might just hold them.
All right, I like that. I like that a take on there for sure. For me, guys, it's definitely a silly situation. I understand, like, people, someone in one of me and Justin's group chat said it was because the integrity of the league, so that that people don't think that it's just all like it's all fixed and whatnot. Even though we all think that the NFL is fixed to some extent, but a whole season seems a bit ridiculous. I understand that what they're trying to do, but I mean, that's just a long time for an NFL. Oh, look at Nate Brown from the We Know Fantasy. What's up, Nate?
What
What's going on? Hey, loving that. But I think if you have him, like Coach Jib said and Justin said, you just kind of have to hold him, honestly. There's really nothing you can do. Like, what do you really want to give away for it? It's like, I would buy low on him. If you could convince the owner of the Calvin Ridley guy to sell him off for a late second, absolutely. Because he'll be back next season. Let's be real. He'll be back next season. Yeah, he's older, but he'll be back. And I think he still will be somewhat of a relevant fantasy wide receiver. And for a late second, basically a third, it's worth a gamble, but you might not get that from people. So it'll be interesting to see. If you have any fantasy trades with Calvin Ridley, please send them our way, because I'd love to see kind of what comes about with this. So, all right, guys. So let's get into the main topic tonight. And it's obviously the NFC North, our dynasty. Talk about them. And we'll start with Aaron Rodgers. Coach Justin, man, you're getting the honorary coach tag tonight. Aaron Rodgers, man, we don't know what his situation is. He's supposed to let us know in the next day or two, but, he's messing around with that situation there. But can Aaron Rodgers succeed if it's not in Green Bay?
I mean, he's generational talent, still got it at 38 years old. I don't see him leaving Green Bay. I think it would take too much to lift him out of there. And with a quarterback at 38 years old, even if he played 3 or 4 more years, like to give up to leverage your entire organization for him is kind of tough. So I think he stays in Green Bay, but I think he'd be successful anywhere. He's plug and play.
I respect that, definitely. I mean, he's definitely a generational type talent, and just like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady they've been able to succeed elsewhere. Coach Gibbs, what are you looking for to acquire or sell on Aaron Rodgers right now? Like, what are you looking to get out of that?
I'm sorry, what?
I was like, what are you exactly like when it comes to Aaron Rodgers? If he goes to another team, there, are you looking to acquire him depending on what team he goes to, or if it's not Green Bay, is it something you're selling off?
I don't think. Even if he were to move to another team, I don't think I will want to go after him. He's 38, probably going to be 39 next year. He doesn't have that much left on the tire. So, like, I'm kind of out on Aaron Rodgers. I'd rather just go elsewhere, even though I know I'm getting a legit, like, top 10 quarterback week in, week out with top 5 upside every week.
All right, I like it. For me, guys, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he should be fine no matter what team he really does go to. Unless you're a contender, I'm not really buying into Aaron Rodgers. Like Jib said, he's 38 years old. He's definitely kind of been flirting with retirement over the last few seasons now. Isn't something I want to attach my fantasy teams to, because obviously if he retires, you just basically lose a whole player with a ton of value to his name there. So it's not really smart to go out and get a guy like that unless you're on a verge of a championship run. It'd be interesting to see if he does leave Green Bay, but I think Justin's right. I think he does stay in Green Bay this season. So, but in that small case that he doesn't leave, Coach Jibbs, how do you value a guy like Jordan Love right now? Can he be someone that is fantasy relevant, actually?
Nah, I don't believe so. I'm not really high on Jordan Love. Like, he wasn't even by all means spectacular in the one spot start he got on that Monday night game against Kansas City. Barely had 200 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So, like, I know he still has time to, like, accrue, like, and get, like, better at practice and whatnot. But if Aaron Rodgers is still in town, like, who knows? That could be next season. It could be 2 seasons beyond that. So don't want anything to do with them in Dynasty. I guess, like, as time progresses, maybe, like, you could, like, peek in and try to see if you could sneak him away from a team. But I'm not really on the waiting game.
I respect
W's
it.
count now.
W's do count now for sure. Justin, my friend, how do you feel about Jordan Love right now? Can he eventually make an impact in this league here, or is he not someone worth rostering on your team? Like, would you rather just get him off your team and not deal with him?
I think if you've got Jordan Love on a dynasty roster, you keep Jordan Love and you see what happens, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, he has to sit another year or not. Like Matt LaFleur is a great offensive mind. You think that offense should be pretty good. He should be fairly safe on the roster. They invested a 10th overall pick, so he's got first-round capital. Teams aren't going to get rid of that off the books in quick fashion, so he'll get a chance. And I don't love his talent, but, like, in that offense, could he do something? He's got mobility. He's got plenty of arm strength, so he's definitely one I'm holding if I've got. And I'd put him on the roster if you've got space and hold on to him and see what happens.
I respect that for sure. When it comes to Jordan Love, guys, it's like, if Aaron Rodgers goes back, his value just drops once again, and I think that's the time to buy him. Right now is not really the best time. I mean, he has things that I like in quarterbacks, a big arm and mobility, which is good for fantasy football, of course. Will it come together? That's still yet to be seen, honestly. Like Jib said, it really hasn't shown us much so far in his few starts that he has, but he has the intangibles to possibly be a good quarterback. It may be this season, it may not be. I think you kind of wait. If you have him, you hold him. If you want to buy into him, you wait until after Rodgers comes back to Green Bay for one more season. So, but he's definitely not somebody I'm actively going to go out there and get, because we don't know what's going to happen with him. So, all right, guys. So over to the last Green Bay Packer of the night here. Allen Lazard has kind of, been around for a while in this NFL league here. And, a couple of years ago, we were really hyping up Allen Lazard to be the big breakout. I think it was like the 2020 season. It was like, oh, he's going to break out. He's going to have a great season. He had a good end of 2019 stretch. But obviously, over the last 2 years, really hasn't been that great. But he did finish pretty strong at the end of this season here. Justin, how do you feel about Allen Lazard? Is he somebody worth buying into, or you just don't really see it ever happening for you?
I'm off Allen Lazard myself. I mean, he's been fairly consistent, I guess, when he's healthy, but he's had some injury bugs that have cropped up on him. I mean, it's hard when both Allen Lazard and MVS are both free agents, and they both have these great bodies, the stuff that you think you can invest in as an NFL team, and they should be able to produce, and then obviously production in fantasy. But if you can't do it with Aaron Rodgers, who are you going to do it with? Who are you going to do it with?
That is true. He needs players, and I mean, I hope they bring back Allen Lazard. If they do bring back Rodgers, and maybe they're waiting to see what happens with Rodgers and then go from there, kind of. But Coach Jibs, buddy, how do you feel about Allen Lazard? Is he someone that's worth maybe buying low into and seeing where he lands, or if he does go back to Green Bay?
Nah, I don't think so. I think the best possible scenario for him would be an inconsistent wide receiver 3. So,
yeah,
I'm not really on him.
I think that's the best way to describe a guy like Allen Lazard. I mean, he got the touchdowns. Great. He got 60 targets. We had 500 yards on those 60 targets. I mean, he was a good touchdown machine guy late in the season for Aaron Rodgers, but he isn't someone who has really stepped up to that plate yet. So even if he goes to another team, I think I'd be even less willing to even want to buy into him. If he goes back to Green Bay, maybe at that point I'd want to buy low at him because he's attached to Aaron Rodgers. But outside of that, I mean, he's just not really a guy that you should really concern yourself with, even though he had a good end of season stretch. I think it's more of a fluke than anything. So if you can sell off on him, go for it now.
Yeah, I think the problem too, like just to close there with Lazard, is like as long as Devontae Adams is in Green Bay, he's never going to be like a target monster. So you got to hope that he's this 8 touchdown guy every year, or if not, he's kind of just a waste on your roster.
Right, and that's another great point, honestly. And you have to think like Aaron Jones is going to get targets, DJ Dillon is going to get targets. So is he really going to see more than 85 maybe in a season? Probably not. So that's a great point there, Justin. All right, so over to the Minnesota Vikings and Irv Smith Jr. Guys, this has been a name we haven't heard of in over a year at this point now. As you guys all know, he got injured before the season even started and was out for the year very early. But let's see who's up next. Jibs, how do you feel about Irv Smith Jr.? Is he someone worth buying low on right now? Why you can't?
He's interesting, like in I guess tight end premium league specifically, but I was definitely on the train last year, and it's unfortunate that he did occur like that injury. But he's still a young player, but I think the volumes, like the Vikings in general, are like a high volume rushing team, and they have Justin Jefferson, some pretty good receivers, and they still do have Conklin as of, I don't know if he's a free agent or anything like that, but I think they'll use all of them in tandem, and I don't think you'll really have like that much consistency. Even like Tyler Conklin by himself last year wasn't anything great. Like he was good in some moments, but he's just one of those tight ends at the end of the day.
All right, okay. I respect your opinion on Mr. Smith here. All right, I did find a trade that went on Twitter for Calvin Ridley. Guys, had to announce it real quick.
Oh God!
Someone sent away. They got in return for Calvin Ridley, Omron Brown from the Washington Commanders, and a 2023 third-round pick.
Oh.
It's going to be interesting to watch the trades to come with Calvin Ridley this season, but that is one to begin with our talk. I'm going to announce all the Calvin Ridley trades as we go through our podcast.
Brown.
That's a gamble.
It's a big gamble. Definitely
I kind of
a big
wanted to leave. That hurts.
That does hurt. I mean, he's going to come back next season. This isn't the Calvin Ridley show, guys, but he's going to come back next year. Like, come on. But okay. Justin, my friend, Irv Smith Jr., how do you feel about him? Is he someone that could really bounce back in a big way for you?
So I'm really interested. I definitely would go Irv Smith on a buy. Like if you could potentially get him buy low right now, coming off injury, I think it's a good spot to get him in. So Kevin O'Connell's the new head coach. Mike Zimmer's gone. It's a different regime there. I don't think they're going to change too much from his run heavy, but Kevin O'Connell is from that Rams hierarchy. And you think about the Rams and a couple of years ago when they had John Everett and Tyler Higbee, who were decently performing tight ends in fantasy. So, I mean, if it can be a 2 tight end system. And Thielen's getting older. Jefferson will command plenty on the outside. I'd definitely buy in.
I like it. All right. Mm-hmm. I'm on the same train as you, actually, Justin. I've been trying to go out there and buy low if I can on Irv Smith Jr. The big thing about Irv Smith Jr., and you guys probably haven't heard any positive news about him, but he was, he fits the big size, the speed of a mismatch at the tight end position here that guys like Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, George Kittle has, Kyle Pitts now has done over the years. He just never got his shot with a guy like Kyle Rudolph sitting there, over the years. Hey, Kyle, what's going on, buddy? And he's definitely someone that should be bought in a lot of leagues. Tyler Conklin he is a free agent. If people didn't know that, he is a free agent. So he may or may not be coming back next year, which would leave Chris Herndon, I think, and maybe.
Oh my God! Jesus Christ!
If Irv Smith could do what Tyler Conklin did, when he saw 70 targets this past season, that is something I want to buy into because athletically, Irv Smith Jr. is definitely more athletic than Tyler Conklin. So he's definitely someone that could put up big yards. Like if he sees like 800 yards and like 5 touchdowns, I wouldn't be surprised because he has that ability to him. And the new coaching staff wants to spread the ball out a little bit more. They might not be as run focused as the previous regime has. So Irv Smith is definitely someone you should be going out there to target as much as you can because he's definitely going to kind of rebound, I think, going into 22.
Okay. Don't listen to my part, but oh my God, you say Chris Herndon. That was.
I mean, it's still. I mean, I see the hesitation on it. I mean, I do, but
Chris Herndon. Talk about somebody in fantasy dog houses everywhere.
Basically, yeah. I don't think he's on any. I don't think he's on any teams. I don't know why he's on anyone's team, to be honest. If he was. All right, so let's over to the next one here. And it's a couple of wide receivers for the Minnesota Vikings. Justin, I'll let you go first on this one. Which of these wide receivers do you prefer to have moving forward? Adam Thielen, who's 31 years old, but continues to just dominate and see a big touchdown upside, or a guy like KJ Osborne, who kind of slightly broke out last year, much younger, but maybe he's probably the wide receiver 3 on this team, maybe 3rd or 4th in targets. Who would you prefer?
I want KJ Osborne. I mean, I just feel like at some point touchdown regression comes back to Adam Thielen. I've also been that person that said that in redraft for like 2 years and have gotten burned as people have Thielen as a wide receiver 2 and make cake on it. But I was impressed by Osborne. I think his physicality at the catch point is really good. He's got good speed. He was a guy that I was very impressed with even as a wide receiver 3, and he was a downfield target for them. Who knows what happens in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins, whether they get rid of him this offseason, and then it becomes, kind of a question mark. But I'd rather have Osborne over Thielen, even though I know Thielen, he's still going to be around.
All right, I like it. I like it for sure. I definitely don't hate it. I understand the youth movement on a guy like KJ Osborne definitely sparked at the end of the season with Adam Thielen not playing. Coach Jibs, my friend, how do you feel about these 2 wide receivers? Which would you prefer moving forward?
Moving forward, I'd rather have Osborne as well. Justin made a lot of good points. I'm all towards the youth movement. But you also with things with like Adam Thielen, you always see like sporadic numbers too. Like the touchdowns do come on numbers. Don't get me wrong. He does like have miraculous games where he scores or catches like 3 balls and gets like a touchdown or something like that. But I'm more on the Jefferson camp that they're probably gonna make him be the lead dog and like kind of take away from Thielen of some sorts. But Thielen is a terrific wide receiver, but going into like 32 years old, I don't think I could ride with that. But like if for a contending team, if you're going for it, like I think he's a pretty good option because obviously that age is going to come into question when you're evaluating that trade, and I think you could get away with I guess some more profit on your trade or return value for the short term.
I respect both your guys' opinion on it. Obviously, KJ Osborne seems a logical choice. Obviously, in Dynasty, you want the youth movement. But I honestly still might rather have Adam Thielen. He wasn't someone who started out like a 21, 22-year-old wide receiver when he came into the league. He was a little bit older. I think he was like 25 before he really started playing, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been productive over the last 5 seasons. And yeah, Kate, I know there's Justin Jefferson is going to demand targets and stuff still, but Thielen, it seems to be Kirk Cousins' go-to guy when it comes to the red zone. And if you're a team unless you're completely rebuilding, he's going to see touchdowns on a week-to-week basis. And if you were doing like a startup right now, like I'm doing, he might have more value long-term, honestly. Not long-term, but he might have more value right now that you could sell off as the season goes on. Like if he's throwing up like a touchdown a game almost, fantasy players want to buy into that. So I would be going out to get him if he's available for you. If you're a contender and if you're in a startup, I'd rather have you Thielen than I would go after Osborne. So that's how I feel about it. Our boy Kyle said he'd rather have 1 year of Thielen and the rest of KJ Osborne's career. I respect it. Don't hate it. I respect it. Everyone's against me, but Kyle does agree with me on one point. Had to throw that out there. But no, guys, I think either option could provide you some decent value. It'd be interesting to see if Thielen leaves after the season, if Osborne is obviously the future 2 on this team. So And speaking of duos here, we have a great duo in this backfield here at Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook. Obviously, have been just dominating fantasy football for years now. But how important is it to have Alexander Madison on your team, Coach Gibbs, if you have Dalvin Cook?
I think it's important because obviously we've seen Cook miss 13 games out of the last 4 years, and obviously you're not including that rookie year where he played 4 games and missed the whole season. But at some point, given the nature of the position, the injury is going to occur, and if it's after the trade deadline, you're basically holding the bag. Like, you don't know, maybe he comes back for the fantasy playoffs, but like, and starts at least like in the last couple of years, it's been like a game or two. But like, I think it's very important for the Cook manager to get Madison on your team at a cost that's like in your budget, of course. But obviously, we all see the Madison trades where it happens when Cook goes down. Like, the guy is like a hot commodity. People just kind of want to get him in on him. So like, I think it's very important, but don't go out of your way, of course.
Okay, I respect it. I like it. I like it. Mr. Justin, my friend, how do you feel? How important to have Alexander Madison, and what would you give up to have Madison if you have Cook?
I mean, I like Allison. I like Alexander Madison's talent either way, even without backing up Cook. He'll be an unrestricted free agent after next year. So depending on what the Vikings do or decide to keep him, or he tests free agency, he could become some standalone value outside of being the backup to Cook. Obviously, he's got some standalone value anyway. If I hadn't traded Dalvin Cook to you in that one league, I probably would have offered you, I don't know, I might have would have a back of the first round, top of the second round pick for Alexander Madison to get him on my squad for that league. I mean, I think he's that valuable, especially with a reoccurring shoulder that seems to sometimes give Dalvin Cook issues. Now, I'm not scared of Dalvin Cook. I mean, he got paid, he's going to get volume, but to have that insurance is key.
Now, I was offered in a trade Chuba Hubbard, a 3rd and a 4th round pick. Is it Madison? Is it clear Madison on that trade?
I think so.
Yeah.
Gibbs, what would you give up to acquire Alexander Madison? What's the highest you'd go on a rookie scale?
On a rookie scale?
Like the rookie picks.
I'll give up. I'll try to get him like for a second, mid-second. Yeah.
Second. Okay. I respect it. Yeah, I think
Just
I don't
to get
think
it
I
done.
could, yeah, I don't think I could give up a first per se. Maybe if I really had the depth at my running back position and needed it really badly just to have that in case Dalvin Cook went down, maybe. But yeah, I think a second is a pretty good offer for him. You might need to do 2 seconds maybe. Fantasy owners might not want to give him away that easily. I mean, I don't want to give away for almost anything. I love Alexander Madison. I'm hoping that he becomes the next starter somewhere else in the NFL. But yeah, I think it's really important. If you're going to have Madison, you have to get him. You have to get him on your team if you have Cook, because Cook's just been shown us so many times at this point that he can't stay healthy every single week, and Madison is very important. Kyle said he wouldn't give up a 2023 second. The class looks too good. Yeah, I probably wouldn't. This class would definitely be the class I'd want to go to get that 2nd round pick. But yeah, if you're a Madison guy, if you're a Cook guy, I'm sorry, you want to go out there and get Madison is if you can at a reasonable value. So, all right, boys, over to the next team. It's the Detroit Lions, and this probably one of the most controversial players on Detroit because it's one of the few players they actually have. Omron Brown, guys, he lit it up at the end of the season to be literally wide receiver 2 over the final 6 games of the season. Coach Gibbs, are you buying the hype in a guy like Omron?
I'm willing to buy into it. Yes, like that, and that end of the season stretch from week 13 on was just fantastic. Like, he won me a fantasy championship or dynasty championship, so like I'm forever indebted to him, I feel like. But like, he's the main guy there. Like, don't get me wrong, like they do have some nice pieces. Or who was like their I guess other wide receiver option. I think it was it Khalif Raymond or something that was
Raymond,
going off like for no reason late down the stretch. But Khalif Raymond, you could laugh at. Quintus Cephas, hopefully you get together, you can laugh at that. But he's the main dog there, and I don't see anything changing. Jared Goff kind of liked it. They had some mojo going together. I know, obviously, they didn't have Swift and Hockenson, but I think all together, those three could make some good weapons for the Detroit Lions, and I think he's here to stay.
All right. I like it. I like the confidence in Omron.
Even with badass Jared Goff. Imagine if he gets some real talent. Oh my God.
Maybe Malik Willis.
Stephen A. Smith.
We'll see. Mr. Justin, my friend, how do you feel about Amon St. Brown right now? Are you buying his hype, or are you trying to sell off at this point?
He's in that. I think he's in that span right now, especially at this point in the year. So, like, if you didn't sell Amon-Ra St. Brown at the end of last season in Dynasty when he was at the peak hype, then I'm holding. And I don't know that I have a value of what I'd want to give up to get him, because I don't know what's going to end up being in Detroit. So they've got 2 first-round picks. They're going to add to that receiver room. I think what he did was impressive, and I think he's going to be a good prospect. But what happens and what he becomes, I don't really know. So he's in that kind of purgatory where I'm holding him if I have him, but I'm probably not giving up much to get him.
And I respect that for sure. I definitely like that take there. But let's see. How do I feel about Amon St. Brown? I don't even know at this point. The best way to describe this is that I think Justin's right. If you didn't sell at the end of last year, you might as well hold on to him, because unless a team is willing to give, I think you have to get at least a first back. And you might want more, which an owner might not want to give you more because of the end of the year stretch. I don't think it was a fluke per se. The best thing about this is that right around the time he started going off, Dan Campbell started taking over the play calling duties, which is obviously a good thing. And then one person who was really involved was their new offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. And he has a knack from his career working with slot wide receivers. And then Jared Goff, over his time in LA, he was with Kupp. He did good with Kupp. He did good with Josh Reynolds. He did with guys who played in the slot a lot of the times. So even if they do bring in like a big time wide receiver, it's likely someone who's going to be on the outside, who's going to stretch the field, which will likely open up targets for Amon St. Brown. So I think buying into him, you might not want to pay up for, which it makes sense. And you might not want to sell short. So unless you can get him for maybe a late first, I probably wouldn't be entertaining any trade offers. But if you have him, I think you hold on to him and to see really what he has, because I think he can be something special. It just took time for this offense to really get things going. So it's kind of how I feel on Amon St. Brown right now. All right. And over to the next guy, Mr. TJ Hockenson, the young tight end on this team here, Justin. And how do you feel about TJ Hockenson? Because, he's done pretty decent. We have him. Everyone thinks of him as a top 7 elite tight end. Not elite, but a top 7 tight end. Can he really be that elite tight end that we all think he can be?
I think so. I mean, you're talking about he won the belt at tight end university. I mean, he was the guy that came out of tight end university with all the hype. He's super athletic profile. He's a tough guy. He's had some injuries. It's kind of, the only worry that you ever really have with Hockenson is how much is he going to get in the red zone, because the offense isn't going to score that much. But he's going to be a top 2 pass catcher probably on that offense, at all times. It's just how far can Jared Goff take him?
I completely agree on it. It's going to come down to Jared Goff a lot of the times, unfortunately, which is obviously not what someone wants in fantasy, but it is what it is, what we have now. Coach Gibbs, how do you feel about TJ Hockenson? Can he really get into that elite top 5 that he's currently, I think, on the outside looking in?
He close to it. I think it was unfortunate that he did get off to a hot start in 2021, but defenses kind of caught up to what the Lions were doing, and this basically phases him out of the game when they didn't have anybody else reliable back there to catch. So with the emergence of Amon-Ra, and you'll get Swift back, hopefully healthy and ready to go, I think those guys could alleviate some pressure, and then that could make him have better, consistent numbers than what we were getting throughout the 2021 season. So I think so, yes.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you guys currently right now. He's still young. I mean, he's going to continue to grow in this offense here. You have your head coach who's a former tight end. You have your offensive coordinator who is a tight ends coach. He's going to see these 80-plus targets more than likely over the next 5 years of his career at least. And if you have him, definitely buy into him. There might be a window right now to get TJ Hockenson. This might be the time frame where people kind of off. Everyone's worrying about Mark Andrews now and Kyle Pitts and everyone in between there. But Hockenson kind of falls off your radar in many fantasy owners who are like, ooh, I got to have Hockenson. So I think this is a great time to, if you're a tight end premium leagues, honestly, late first round pick, I'd be okay selling off Hockenson because he's going to be the number 1 or 2 target on this team more than a lot in most weeks with the Lions, and he should be fine. So, all right, over to the last line of the night, DAndre Swift. Man, this man is a beast when he's on the field and healthy here. Coach Gibbs, how are you on Swift? Can he take that next leap to be considered more of an elite, like the Austin Eckler types? Can he make that leap?
I think I don't know if he can make the leap though. No.
Why not?
Because I think it's kind of going to be good for his career, but I don't see the Lions, even though we have instances where he had the tremendous workload of like the bulk attempts of rushing the ball, but I think they're going to stay in the committee with Jamal Williams or whoever they want to put in their committee. Right. And he's going to have his allotted shares, and sure, we know he's going to make an impact in the receiving game and whatnot, but like, I don't know, like there's always that little slight surge of injury risk that always occurs with him. But don't get me wrong. I've been trying to sniff at the trees, trying to get him the whole offseason, but I can't get no one to bite. So like, he's a fantastic player and he's still young, 23 years old. I think I'd rather put like a lot of my chips with him if I could, but I think he's going to be just out of that like elite crowd, but just like a guy you want.
All right. I respect that for sure. I mean, he's an elite. He has elite traits, but it might not actually relate to elite production. So, Mr. Justin, my friend, how do you feel about DAndre Swift? Can he be that considerable elite talent to you?
I think he can, most definitely. I love this guy's talent. I mean, he's a guy that makes people miss in the open field. I think that Detroit has to put, like, you made a perfect comparison. If Detroit uses him and deploys him like an Austin Eckler type, then he doesn't have to get the major volume from the running standpoint to get his points in fantasy. And I think that's exactly what he does. I mean, he's more explosive than Austin Eckler, truthfully. So get the guy the ball in open space. I'm with Jibbs. I'm trying to get this guy wherever I can and don't seem to be able to do it just now, but he can absolutely take that step into elite status. And I think it's all touchdown equity. So Detroit seems to be turning the page to a new leaf and going in the right direction. If they start to become a higher efficiency type offense where they start scoring some points, DAndre Swift goes with them.
All right. We kind of hyped up this whole Lions 4-3 here, but yet the Lions are like a 2-14, 2-15 team here. So it will be interesting to see kind of how that unfolds. But I'm somewhere in the middle between you guys. Honestly, I think Swift could. Will he, though? I'm still kind of unsure about that. I don't know if he's someone who's going to be able to handle that heavy workload without an injury possibly occurring. I think what opportunity he does receive, it's going to be elite, but I don't know if the Lions are going to want to give him that heavy production for multiple seasons like that, where he's seeing 300, attempts, and I'm not rushing, just overall touches over a season long. So I think he's definitely someone, if you have an RB that you want, it's Swift, because he's going to be a solid RB1 over the next 4 years of his career. And that's someone you want, but elite level, you might not get there from me personally.
Mike, I got to caveat mine with, like, I'm a sucker for a running back that wears a dark visor too. It's
dude, you a big marking room guy?
Dude. I think I go back to my LT days and I'm just like, oh man.
Oh yeah. He was the man right there.
Oh, he was. Oh, a new Calvin Ridley trade. AJ Dillon for Calvin Ridley.
Straight up?
Yep. That's the trade I saw just now on Twitter.
I need to start shopping Calvin Ridley.
Oh God, the Calvin Ridley trade is fun.
Yeah,
I did see Ridley for a 2023 third before. I just felt like it was too obvious to talk about before. So I will keep looking on the show as we get to the end here. So over to the Chicago Bears now. And the guy of the hour, Justin Fields now. Justin Fields, I mean, the man I think is underrated, but I'll let you guys go first here. Justin, how do you feel about Fields? Can he kind of just, is he being undervalued right now in fantasy?
I mean, it's Dynasty. Like, quarterbacks are a premium. Having quarterbacks on your roster is great. I'm not a huge Justin Fields fan, although I think his ball accuracy is really good. He's kind of one read to me, and I don't really. It's always scary to think of a quarterback that has the hold time that he does. He doesn't get rid of the ball very quick. He's always going to be a high sack guy, but he's got all the traits. So I mean, yeah, I guess jury's not out for me yet. I got to see some more.
All right. I respect it for sure. Coach Jibbs, what do you got for me, man? How do you feel about Justin Fields?
I honestly, I don't know what his like going prices for right now, like in the Superflex league, but you're doing a startup right now, right, Coach Steve?
I sure am.
What round did he go in?
I took him at the 303.
303.
Superflex.
Oh, that's decent.
If it helps, Trey Lance went 111. So.
Oh, okay. But long story short, I think he's at a fair price right now. Obviously, he has some limitations as a passer, and he's going to get better. And we obviously know what he could do with his legs, and the rushing upside that he provides. But I think the last 2 games that he did play in the regular season, I think that kind of showed me a little bit, like a little stepping stone that he could kind of take I want to say a huge leap, but he could be a more consistent fantasy option for us. But Dynasty wise, I think he's a good guy to get right now because obviously the Bears kind of mortgaged their future a bit ways, giving the Giants some fuel for this year's draft, and hopefully they just don't blow it up. But I think they're stuck with Justin Fields, so I think if you could get him cheaper than Lance, you should definitely do that. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's the way. I tried to trade up Lance straight up for Fields. No one wanted it. I'm like, come on. I didn't. I traded up to get Lance. Not Lance. Lawrence. That's what it was. Lawrence. I was like, come on. I should just wait and got Fields. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Justin Fields. Honestly, right now, I think he is someone that I'm actively trying to acquire, even though it might cost you a little bit more. Right now on this offseason here. And to me, it's the rushing upside. We love mobile quarterbacks, and clearly they get a lot of fantasy points for us. That's why Trey Lance is a big guy. Lamar Jackson's right now, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, these guys who are mobile, who can get out of the pocket and just go. Fields can do that. I mean, he had 400 yards. I mean, he was averaging 51 yards a game, basically. And the best thing is that his new offensive coordinator, Luke Getsley, if I'm not saying his name wrong, I probably am, he's someone who has been under the understudy of the RPO offense. And I expect him to kind of follow that with Justin Fields to kind of do that RPO. And he's going to probably thrive under that situation. And we're probably going to give him plenty of opportunity to run this season here. He's got a big arm. If they could maybe get another wide receiver in that offense there, Fields is someone who I think can take major leaps and possibly by the end of 2022 be the number 1 quarterback in that draft class because of his possibility that I think he could produce for you, even over my boy Zach Wilson. So Fields is definitely someone I'm going after. All right. Let's see here. Cole Kmet, another fan favorite of mine. I love this division for some reason, but Coach Jibbs, how do you feel on a guy like Cole Kmet here? He's been in the league 2 years now. It does take time for some tight ends to actually break out. Can't be all like Kyle Pitts. Is he someone that you're buying into going into next year?
I think I would like to buy in Cole Kmet. Obviously, as the Bears are letting Allen Robinson walk, most likely for free agency, he's going to be the second guy on this offense. He was already the second guy last year. He had an 18% target share right behind Mooney. And like you don't want tight ends who are playing third fill in their offense. You want these guys who are like either the first or second option. So I think that right there kind of solidifies Cole Kmet possibly taking a step forward. Obviously, when Justin Fields kind of gets it together, but still, I think he's a good guy to get on right now. Like speaking of Kyle Pitts, like Cole Kmet had 6 less targets and scored 3 more touchdowns. I don't know if the production was the same, but still, like those are indicators, at least for last year.
That is true. I like that a lot. Mr. Justin, how do you feel about Cole Kmet? Is he someone you're buying into?
Yeah, this is the year. I definitely would. I don't honestly. I can't even add a whole lot. Coach Shibbs just kind of hit all the major points. If he doesn't do it this year, though, I'm completely off. This is a 3rd year breakout, hopefully for him, and he needs to see an uptick in consistency across from a target share standpoint.
Right. I think that's kind of the best way to put it. I mean, hopefully Fields is going to be his quarterback all season, and we don't have the Andy Dalton, the 1 week Nick. Didn't he play week Nick Foles at one point? Hopefully we get a full season of Fields and the touchdowns. I mean, he had 0 touchdowns this season here. I mean, and he led the team in red zone targets. There have to be a way to get this man the ball in the red zone, and if they can get that down, if he sees 4 touchdowns this season, he jumps from probably tight end 21 to probably tight end 12 this past season here. And that's a big difference probably with the touchdowns. And hopefully the offense is better than it was last year because the Bears offense was pretty bad outside of a few people. So if he can do similar to what he did this year, but actually get those touchdowns to fall, I mean, he's someone that you should definitely buy into. I've been trying, and people obviously all think like me and love him. So we'll see how the offseason goes, but he's definitely someone you should probably be buying into on the download, especially in tight end premium leagues. And the last guy tonight, another favorite player of mine. God, this whole
division.
I love everyone in this division here, especially the worst teams in the division for some reason. But Darrell Mooney really stepped up as a wide receiver for this Chicago Bears team and had a pretty decent season here. But Coach Justin, how do you feel on Mooney, man? How are you taking Mooney moving forward without Allen Robinson?
I mean, all of the peripherals look good. His athletic profile looks good. I think you saw how he ended the season. He gets separation. To me, he's a Deontay Johnson type receiver, and I think it's a pretty decent comp for him because he does separate really well. So if it becomes more consistent with Fields getting the ball out of his hands and getting the ball to his playmakers, I think Darnell takes a step forward. It'll be interesting what they add in the offseason because they'll bring someone in as complimentary, but he'll be wide receiver 1.
All right. I mean, you're speaking music to my ears, that's for sure. Coach Jibbs, how about you, buddy? How do you feel about Mooney right now?
Whatever we said about Amon St. Brown, it's basically the same thing, but he's just established. Like he's played 1 more year, and I think he's gonna take a even bigger leap just because I guess he'll have another year under his belt with Justin Fields. He'll be the number 1 option. And we saw late in the season when he was just the guy out there, like he was putting up some spectacular numbers. So I like Mooney. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. One of my favorite things about wide receivers is their ability to separate, and Mooney can definitely do that. He sure can. I mean, he has the ability also to get downfield, something that Fields is very strong in with the deep ball game there. And I think they are going to have to add a wide receiver here, but the wide receivers they had this past season were nothing to brag about. So bringing in more talent, maybe he brings down to 120 targets this season, maybe. That's still a great target share. Definitely someone that I'm willing to buy into, and hopefully they can bring more talent to kind of keep defenders off of focusing on Mooney the entire game. So I think he's definitely – I don't know if you could buy into him now. I don't know what he's really going for. Like, would you guys give up a first for Mooney right now? I think that's a tough one to say right now because I don't know if I would, but I love him.
I don't think I could, but I'll try to package as many.
I don't know. I mean,
high-end twos.
I guess it depends on what I'm looking for. So, like, if I've got quarterback figured out and I'm going in needing a receiver, I would give up a first. I don't know that Treylon Burks or any of the wide receiver 1s coming out of college I would put above him like right now. And do they fall to me at the back half of the first round? Maybe not. So I'd think about it.
Yeah, I think with this class in particular is that the quarterbacks might not go early.
Right.
Most of the times you'd have 3 quarterbacks off in the first 7 picks. You might have maybe 2 quarterbacks, depending on where they land, go in the first 7 picks. So it might push the wide receivers up because obviously the running backs, there's 1 or 2, really maybe 3 if you consider some of them, running backs in this class. The wide receivers you might not get in that back half, so you might end up going with Mooney, who shown us that he can at least be a wide receiver too. And if he just sees more production and more possibility for touchdowns, I mean, he could end up being a wide receiver 1 maybe.
It's a good risk.
It's a risk I think might be worth taking because he is established, and sometimes people like the upside than taking the established route with a guy like Mooney. So. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. I think. Hold on. Yep, that's the last of my slides here. So we thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. As always, Mr. Justin, my friend, you were a pleasure to have on. As always, if there's anything you want to shout out or say before we let you go, your floor is yours, my friend.
I appreciate that. It's always the usual. My folks over at We Know Fantasy, as Coach Steve probably brings up quite often, love everything that we're doing over there. And then my DDFF family with Dave, that's always good. We're going to try and get back on the grind here soon. But it's that awesome time where I feel like it's the NFL is trying to go toward NBA when it comes to the free agency type season, and everything gets so exciting. So the next few weeks, strap up.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun roller coaster ride.
And again, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on this show with you guys. And anytime I can fill in, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. We love having you on. You always bring fantastic insights into the show, my friend. Mr. Gibbs, Coach Gibbs, you got anything you want to say before we let you go?
I just can't wait for this free agency. It's probably the best time of the year. Besides March Madness. Oh, we got that coming up too. So
there you go.
Yes, we do.
But other than that, gamble responsibly. I'll leave it at that.
And don't gamble if you're on an NFL. That's a no-no apparently in this day and age. So, but yeah, we thank you all for listening once again. As always, please go check out our new and improved website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Coaches Fantasy. If you want to follow any of us here, you can find me at Coach Stephen P.
I'll take Concho.
And then Justin, you can name off yours.
Yeah, at JF Hornets 25.
All right. So we hope you give us all a follow. Thank you all for listening. And as always, tune in back next week. We'll be talking the NFC South next week. Hopefully we'll have Coach John back with us next week. So until then, guys, have a great one.